Hey everyone, this is Perry with the EV Lab, and we're going to get into the biggest word in timing, which is and. I'm going to explain that kind of a little bit of detail in a bit. But I got a call on a Sunday morning, woke me up. Tim Hyers is calling me about these two guys, about Austin Riley, who had been a little bit of a scuffle for a few games, and then they were facing the Dodgers and Dustin May that night, and asked me what I thought about Austin Riley and if there was any input I might have on swing stuff. So I asked him to go out, if he went out right now and did a soft toss with Riley, would he have a flaw in his swing? And the answer was no. It would be perfect. And I'm like, okay, well, that's my first instinct is to let's look at timing as opposed to looking at a swing thing, because swing things take too long to fix, and timing you can fix right now with the right intent and the right game plan. So we started talking about that, and this was from an interview, by the way, maybe like 5 years ago on MLB Now. It was like a 9-minute interview, and Tim spoke for a long portion of that about utilizing effective velocity in his game planning for a long time. He and I have done a lot of work since like early 2000s. But when we talked that day, one of the things I told him was, if Austin Riley, I'm one of his fans. I like his swing a lot. I think he's got one of the better righty swings in the game. And if he worked with me every day doing his game plans, he'd hit 50 every year, no doubt. 100% of the time, he's going to hit 50 homers in a big league season. And we just kind of left it at that, and then talked about a few other things. Basically, what it is that I saw in his swing. So what I did tell him was that there's one thing. He loads with leverage. I love that. If I tried to walk up and push him over, there's no chance of that. So he's leveraged. He's got tremendous stretch. His hands go back, and when the hands go back, as the lower half is going this way, if it's timed correctly, really a tremendous amount of stretch in that torso, in the shoulder, in the lead arm. Lot of elastic energy that's built up there. So that part I love. The fact that he releases off the backside for the most part is fantastic, because that, again, if you watch the other video that I did on the home run derby swings, when the backside releases, the hips finish a little closer to being level, with just a slight, this one's just slightly lower than the other one typically. And that typically puts the bat in a line that's in a head-on collision with the ball for a longer period of time. So for that part, and that full extension like crazy, that's why I really like his swing a lot, and we talked about that. I said there is one thing though that costs him when he goes bad. He's like a lot of players. The foot gets down too early. When this foot's on the ground and that foot's on the ground at the same time, that typically means that the weight shift has happened already, and now once the swing itself starts with the arms, there's not as much weight shift still left to go. So what you see mostly is just rotation and not that energy pushing into it. There are a lot of guys who will argue with me and say that that's exactly what you want to have happen. I would tell you, no, you don't, because if you test that and you have them shift early, the exit velocity will go down. It's not at absolute max out. And me personally, I want absolute max out, because when I miss it with my A swing, I hit it a long ways. When you miss it with a B or a C or a D swing, it's an out. And that's the difference between the way 100 effective velocity hitting looks at things, is that it's all about the mishits. Everything is about mishits, because it's very rare that you hit everything absolutely perfect. So if he had a flaw, in my opinion, it's going to be that. It's going to be that getting down too early, opening a little early, and that's going to result in some bad timing things if the pitcher doesn't deliver the ball right here. Anywhere from here through to here, I would refer to that as a 2. That's a fastball. A 1 would be a fastball up and in. 2 is a fastball that's away or down. And most swings are geared towards 2s because for 100 years, guys have been living away, period. So the timing, they time it for a 2. And then everything out in front of that is where the 3s start to show up. And so when a player is fooled by an off-speed pitch, but it's up a little bit, it's going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so when you gear to a 2, you have the advantage of being able to pull hard off-speed pitches that find their way up there. And even softer off-speed pitches way out in front can still get hit if you gear yourself to the timing of this 2. So as long as pitchers are throwing pitches into that bat path, downward angle, and at that speed range, then bravo. It doesn't really matter what you're doing. Even when you have a mistimed weight shift, you're going to get away with it because it doesn't matter that you've lost a few percentage points off your absolute max out bolt, because by the time that foot gets down, pardon me, he's still, he's already in the process of releasing weight into that moment of impact. So very little, if any, is lost when the timing is that perfect, even though the weight shift, in my opinion, has come forward a little bit. So let's skip ahead now to what issues happen as a result. So this is a fastball, middle up, and you're going to see him late. And why you see him late is because when the weight shifts too early and the ball's rushing towards you and you're rushing towards the ball, you lose reactionary time. Is it a lot? No, but it's enough to make this a very tough pitch to hit. The other thing I want to point out is when you see things like this back foot sliding out and you see the weight shift early, you tend to see that back foot sliding often. You also see this. And when that is not quite as level, that means the backside hasn't completed the rotation. So the rotational speed's probably down a tiny bit. But more importantly, the swing plane has dipped a tiny bit, because when this goes down, that barrel goes down slightly. And that's a big major part from my view as to why guys swing and miss as much as they do. This pitch is a fastball away. It's that 2. And it bellies out like this. So it shows itself immediately out of the hand. And he takes his best rip at that. His timing is almost perfect. But again, you see the weight shift really early. And then you see the tilt because the backside is dipping a little. You see that foot fly out a little bit. So that to me is all geared around one simple thing, and that's the Aaannd. His Aaannd isn't very good. And as long as his Aaannd is not very good, as long as he's load and go, meaning he's loading and he's going and then trying to adjust the swing to match, then that's going to cause some issues. It's going to cause some swing flaws that aren't really swing flaws. They're really timing flaws. That one's tough when you throw 100 to be able to stay in there that long, actually. So now here comes the unfair pitch. Looks like a strike, looks like a fastball strike. That's screaming fastball away. And yet, at the point where he has to pull the trigger on fastball, it is already too late. And he's going to swing and miss at this. But again, what's happening? The answer is front foot's down, early, hips starting early a little bit from my view. And now the Aaannd is the issue. The timing is the issue. Not so much the fact that he can't recognize that pitch. He's not in a great position when he does recognize that pitch. That's more accurate, I think. So let's dive into Dustin May a little bit, because he's one of those guys that has about 20 inches of movement with his fastballs. That means it has to start outer third or on the black. And even if it starts on the black, it's going to be right on the black inside or beyond. So it's really hard for that much movement to be able to throw a strike that's in the strike zone. And if you were to throw a slider or sweeper off of that, that thing would be in the other batter's box. So in other words, his movement's so big, he can't throw a fastball strike and a sweeper strike and keep it both in the strike zone. That's a physical thing that's not going to happen unless he changed his movements. As long as his movements remain how they are right now, that's advantage hitter if the hitter's a black belt. If he has someone that knows what they're doing as far as game planning, then that's an advantage that goes towards the hitter. I don't think most guys look at it like that yet, but it's only a matter of time. When you look at Dustin May's sinker, overall, he's league average. The batting average, this was a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, before injuries, when he was really throwing like 101 or 2. Slugging, just about league average. Exit velocity, just about league average. Maybe a tick, one mile an hour faster than league average at that time. Fastballs in, however, sinkers up and in, middle into up and in, $183, batting average and slug, exit velocity 83. And that's kind of the norm on fastballs in that up and in area. That's the average exit velocity across Major League Baseball. But there's no damage that's happening at 83 miles an hour. So that's why that's a very important note. Now, the real note is what happens when he throws fastball away. Does it lose velocity? No. It loses effective velocity, but it doesn't lose velocity. Does it lose spin rate? No. Does it lose movement? No. All of those things are the same, yet 101 average exit velocity on that pitch when it's put in play. 462 batting average, 769 slug. So that pitch used away is a very bad idea, because even though it's 100 miles an hour, it's 100 miles an hour that goes out here, works its way back. So middle away, that 97 is really about 94. And down and away, it's just over 91, probably we'll call it 92. So this is where he's living, in that neighborhood, when he throws pitches in that middle away, down in middle area. They're all in that 94, 92 speed range. Now, that doesn't seem like much, but that is a huge difference. So now when you call this 92 down and away, and this slider in, sweeper in up and in at 87, 88, that becomes about 92. So in essence, his slow sweeper can actually be the same speed as his slowest version of his fastball. So every time he throws that fastball, it's losing speed on that side of the diagonal. And every time he throws that sweeper on this side, it's gaining speed because it's on the plus side. So it doesn't gain all that much speed until it gets up and in extreme. But in general, it's moving towards gaining speed, and this one is losing speed. And they're both showing the hitter what they are immediately out of the hand. That's the difficult part about this for people to get. So here's the slider. Again, above average here on this. Average exit velocity 86. That's probably a little high for him. It should be somewhere here when he uses it in that area that's down and away. Really, all the stats go down dramatically. But when he hangs it, and I think some of this is by design, batting average 500, average exit velocity 105, because it's gaining speed. More importantly, it's showing the hitter what it is out of the gate. So when Dustin May makes that mistake, here's what it looks like to the hitter. Fastball, it's losing speed. Slider, sweeper is gaining speed, and they start to cross over each other. So in talking to Tim, I had to look to see if he's still utilizing his pitches in the same way. before I made any comments about what the right game plan against him would be. Because in these days, these older days, when he first started, it was super easy. He was going to show you this, and he was going to show you that. So depending on your level of ability to create a great and would determine which mindset makes the most sense. But you're going to get a lot of pitches to hit. They're not easy pitches to hit, but they're easier than they should be. That combination right there is a nightmare because it is right on top of you before that pitch above the zone splits apart. That's fastball in on the black, and the other one almost on the black. But again, it's impossible for both of his pitches at the present movement, when it's moving 19 or 20 inches, that fastball. You cannot keep both of those in the strike zone. So what does that mean? That means he can either throw the slider strike or he can throw the fastball strike, but he can't throw them both and hide them. They're both going to be visible. That's what that means. So now we skip ahead, and I get a text from Tim later that day because I'd kind of gone on about my day and forgot about it. And I get a text that said, he may just hit that 50. And I laughed, texted him back like, what happened? I didn't get a chance to see the game. And he said he hit 2, both on sweepers. We both kind of laughed a little bit. But the idea is what are you seeing here? Are you seeing him rush to get to that front side? Because honestly, I don't know. I know they had a conversation about it, but I don't know exactly what game plan he bought into that day. I don't know what thought process it was exactly. But what I can tell you is I see something different. I see that front knee, front hip staying closed a little bit longer. Toe touch instead of the whole foot getting down early. And then he's in the process of swinging. I still see a little bit of the back foot sliding, but not as much, because I see a little bit more of that flatter belt coming through the zone. It's not perfect, but you can get away with a little more of that up when the pitch is going down like that. But that's fun. Second at bat. Again, another slider, sweeper. And again, it has to start in there to be a strike. It can't start in the strike zone and be a strike. It has to start out here. So when it starts in the strike zone and it's a sweeper, it's a ball. That's the downside of sweepers. In my opinion, sweepers are a thank you to hitters if they know what they're doing. For a black belt hitter, a sweeper is ball one, because the only real use of it is that or a big time freeze pitch. But the big time freeze pitch is easily dealt with if you have a great hand. So is he staying back longer? Because I see that hip staying closed a little longer. I see the weight not committing to the front side a little bit later. Is it night and day? Of course not. But because it wasn't a night and day issue. It was a tiny little issue. Tiny adjustment. But that tiny adjustment takes the swing flaws, I should say, and it erases them without having to think about my hands or my hips or any of that. Just take some swings, slow some things down, and now we're back on track. I don't think he's on track to hitting 50, but nonetheless, very fun day.